Just clap once in front of your face. Perfect. Say your name, your title with HonorAir Knoxville, and how many flights you've been on.
Eddie Mannis, chairman and founder of HonorAir Knoxville. I've been on 36 flights.
38 is going to be the last for now. What's running through your mind, Eddie?
A lot. Bittersweet. You can't believe it's kind of coming to an end, and maybe a sense of exhaustion, fulfillment, lots of things. But it's bittersweet, to say the least.
Let's go back to the beginning. I know you've told this story many times, but how did HonorAir start?
Yeah, I was maybe in the early 2007. I had gotten a phone call and I was talking to my friend Jeff Miller, and his dad had passed away, and his dad was a World War II veteran. He lived in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And he was cleaning out his dad's belongings and realized that his dad had given a lot of money to help build the World War II memorial, but he passed away before he was able to experience the memorial, obviously before it was completed. And so Jeff was really taken by that and said no veteran should be in that situation. And so Jeff kind of put together a program in Hendersonville, flew out of Asheville for the first time, and said, Eddie, why don't you come over and help us with this and go on the flight and see? Because he said, I think this is something that you might want to do, knowing your personality. And so I did, out of respect for him and his father, and I went over and I traveled on that flight with them out of Asheville and was so moved by that experience. I had not really given much thought to World War II. It never was really on my radar, but was so moved by that experience and visiting with those men for that day. I came back across the mountain that evening and thought, this really would be something great. East Tennessee veterans deserve this. East Tennessee World War II veterans deserve this. So let's see if we can make this happen. And that was in spring of 2007. I was there, and we took our first flight in fall of 2007.
And the whole idea at the start was to ensure that World War II veterans had a chance to see the World War II Memorial in Washington.
Yes, that was the intent of the program, and hadn't really thought much past that. Really hadn't thought much past the first flight. In my mind, that could have been the only flight. I really never thought about it. But, here we are 38 flights later.
Yeah. And you, what do you think, what was it about the community, what was it about the response that told you we're onto something? It started out very slow at first. Trying to get veterans on the flight, I thought, oh, maybe this was not such a great idea because it was slow. But then when word got out, we filled our first flight, and we got back, had enough veterans for a second flight. And, then the list grew, so it was out of control, and so we just kept going. But I think that participation, and then the first flight, visiting with Mrs. Gray, the wife of Frank Gray, went on our first flight. And I took the DVD to them because as we give to every veteran, but Mr. Gray had passed away just a few days after we returned. And I took the DVD to her, and she said, Eddie, I can't tell you what this meant to Frank. She said, we never could get him to talk about his experience in World War II. And she said, when he came home from this flight, he was with us for 4 more days, and that's all he talked about for those remaining 4 days of his life. That's all he talked about. And so that kind of started, I never realized that it would have that impact, but it certainly had that impact and more. You mentioned that moment. Is there any other one moment that stands out over those 36 flights you've been on, the 38 that you've helped make happen?
There's so many one moments, with all the veterans and so many stories that I could tell. One just quickly off the top of my head, I got a visit from the wife of a veteran at the reunion breakfast. And she said, Eddie, I will tell you that the veteran, the man that left our house the morning of the flight was not the same man that came back home that night. And we hear variations of that story every flight. We hear variations of that same story.
It changes them for the better.
It changes them for the better. And I think one of the unexpected things that I never really thought about, and I still have to think about it, is how it changes the family dynamic. Mail call changes the family dynamic because the family is able to express gratitude for the first time. They never really had that kind of situation to be able to express gratitude. And so that was kind of one of those, I guess, maybe unexpected consequences that we didn't even think about, was mail call. And then, so that's been a very pleasant surprise. And then with our student ambassadors, our Sam Hardman student ambassadors, the relationship that I had no idea would happen is when these kids would go on a flight with these veterans, especially early on with World War II, the World War II veteran then would take on that student ambassador almost as an adopted grandchild. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that they were on the sidelines of their football games or their baseball games. And so it gave maybe that veteran a renewed purpose and a reason to keep going. Now you had this individual, this young person in your life that really saw value in you and you saw value in them. And I could never have anticipated that.
What can you say about the long-term volunteers that you have had a part of your staff for so many flights?
It's incredible. I mean, I thought so many times about the sacrifice they make time after time after time. And I give a couple of them a hard time after the first flight. They would say, how many more flights? How many more flights? How many more flights? And they stopped asking me that after about 25. And so I don't hear that much anymore. But their commitment is overwhelming. And they do it. They don't begrudge the time they spend. They are eager to be there. They will go above and beyond to do whatever it takes to make sure that the veterans that travel with us have an amazing experience. There's no limit to what they will do. And that sacrifice, my gratitude is just, I will forever be grateful for what they have done for this program and for East Tennessee veterans.
One thing that stood out to me on the flights that I've been on is the spontaneity of the greetings we see when you get to Washington, D.C. A lot of people talk about the welcome home in Knoxville being so impactful, but it's also when they step off the plane in D.C. and people in the airport stop, turn around, applaud, shake hands. It is visceral and real.
That is the first experience. You know, the honor guard here in Knoxville, that starts the experience. But when they arrive into Washington, into Reagan National, they have no idea when they get off the plane, you know, what that greeting is like. Because it can be, we've had bands, we've had huge kids, choirs there to greet these veterans. And just watching their face, because I'm usually there at the gate to try to direct them, to keep them going in the right direction. Just watching their face for the very first time, they get it. There's a sense of pride and a sense of respect, and you can see the smile come over their face. And sometimes the gruffest old men that we could experience, I've watched them smile and shake a kid's hand or kiss these kids on the forehead. That's what starts the experience.
Anything else that I should ask you about the program that you think is important for people to understand in the community and the support you've seen from outside your core group of volunteers?
You know, it's about the core group of volunteers, the volunteer escorts, the sacrifices they make, but it has also been, and somewhat surprising for me early on, was the level of support from the community, everyone in the community. And that is evident by, I think our first welcome home we may have had 100 people at the airport. You know, it was still a great group, and I was very impressed with that group and the signs, and our veterans were very impressed with that size group. But I guess maybe the dedication year after year after year after year to individuals coming to the airport, I literally have seen babies grow up coming to greet these veterans. They would come and then they were on their dad's shoulders, and now they're graduating from high school or they're getting married. You know, and so that dedication at all ages, kids there, it's just, I think the dedication from the community and the support from the community really has helped make this program what it is.
Just one moment that I shared with you that I always tell people about was on the first flight I was on, it was raining to beat the band when we got to DC. And we were at the World War II Memorial, and you grabbed me and you said, you need to see this. And you took me over, and Cyril J. Payne was in a wheelchair, tank commander from World War II, who, unbeknownst to him, was going to reunite with the tank commander that he last saw 75 years ago at the end of the war in Europe.
Right.
And I always tell people, thank goodness it was raining, because all of us were crying.
Yep. I remember that well. And he had no idea. I think the story went that they had talked on the phone, but never, and never thought that they would reunite. And there were a lot of tears that day from everybody that was in even earshot of what was going on. And so I'm also grateful that it was raining.
Just amazing moments, and that's what it just seems like this program is built on, is there is all the planned work that goes into it, but then it's some moments that just happen.
I mean, another example of that was in the airport several flights ago. There were two individuals living in the same county that served in World War II together, but had not seen each other since they left and came back, and they went their separate ways, and they were reunited on an HonorAir flight at the gate for the first time in so many years. The same situation, and so there's so many stories like that. I could go on and on and on, and again, it's just those kind of unintended or unexpected consequences that were great opportunities.
Anything else we should talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Rafi, do you have any questions?
You know, I think it's interesting how you talked about the people in the airport. I spend a lot of time covering the crowd at airports, and one thing I've noticed is it seems to, while the trip is for the veterans, it seems to touch the people in the crowd just as much because they have family members who used to serve or who never got that same welcome as they did then. Do you mind just talking a little bit about that reaction?
I think that's the reason why they tend to come back. It's some of it is self-serving also, because you get an opportunity to thank someone, shake the hand of someone, and it may be representative of your father or your grandfather, and that happens quite often. Maybe your relative has gone on, but you see that as an opportunity to come and pay honor for your loved one who you may not have been able to say thank you to, and now you can say thank you to someone who has gone through what they've gone through. And I think that's a very important part. These men and women, but going with the experience of being able to sit with someone. And I've been challenged in a very tough way in the past by spouses, wives of veterans, because that's just something we don't allow. We don't allow spouses of veterans to go on the flight unless the wife is a veteran. And the reason why is because if we did, we all know what would happen. The husband and wife, the veteran and the wife would go touring around, and they would miss the most important part of this program. And the most important part of this program is sitting beside someone who you can talk to and open up to, and they know exactly what you're talking about. And there's no judgment, there's no, and you can just talk openly. And that in itself, I really think, is what starts that healing process for these men. So, and I think that at the airport, it's kind of that same thing from the family member's perspective. They can also heal through that process.
Just in general terms, the cost of this program has gone up tremendously. This was something that you did as a charitable donation to the community. You did see some help from some donors, but the costs are really a lot more than they were when it started. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. When we started in 2007, it's interesting. It was Prestige and Covenant Health, and those were really the only two supporting partners in the program, and with individual contributions. And if I think back to 2007, I think it was about $48,000, $50,000, somewhere less than 60 grand for the whole trip. And now we're pushing close to probably $150,000 every time we travel. And so costs have gone up in that, I guess, 18 or 19 years. So,
To be expected.
yeah, right.
Well, will you be looking for anything on this last flight? Is there any tradition that you do, or are you just going to take it all in?
I've often wondered what this last flight would be, and I've tried to create in my mind what could we do special, you know, and it's been really hard because every flight is special in its own way, and I don't want to force something, and I don't want to shortchange the veterans that are traveling on this flight and make it all of a sudden now about the program and not about them. I think it'll be tough, you know. For our benefit, I hope it rains, you know, because I think there will be some tears shed. But I think we'll take joy and pride in the fact that we have fulfilled a mission, and we're not stopping in the middle of the mission. We truly have fulfilled a mission, and it's so ironic that we had 45 veterans on our list with boots on the ground when we terminated the acceptance date of applications, which was February the 16th. We had 45 veterans, and we have been able to take all 45 of those veterans on this flight. So it's just a clean cut off. Our veteran list ended with boots on the ground. This is our last flight. So I think we can say mission accomplished.
Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.